Hello again. Welcome back to Yoga and Your Knees, Part 2. Vincent here, coming at you from Thornton, Colorado. Sending you good vibes wherever you are. In our last video, we talked about stacking the joints, not locking your knees, and about our dividing line here. Purpose of the dividing line, loosely purposed, is to teach us to keep our heels aligned with our hips. We want to avoid this just as much as we want to avoid this. This, obviously, is our trusty yoga book. Once again, we line up the heels, the whole body is ready to teeter like this book. We stand this book up, it's going to fall over pretty quickly. So we seek to align the knee with the hip. Something I'll stress in my live classes whenever I'm watching someone in this position. Take a look at your knee, take a look at your hip. While we're also remembering not to draw the knee past the ankle. Let's remember, align the knee with the hip. It's going to make for safe warrior stance. So we'll play a little bit with that. We've got our warrior stance. We're on the other side of the line. We're got enough distance between our feet that our body weight's not falling forward. We can easily bring our shoulders over our hips. Let's play a little bit with the Iyengar half moon pose. Now we might need a yoga block to reach the floor. I like to keep one handy no matter what. As we take the weight off the back heel, we're pushing down through the front heel, just like we did in Warrior 3, our last video. Only now, instead of squaring the hips together, we're lifting up that hip, stacking it over. We're still not locking the knee. We still got bendiness in our knee. We got a micro bend in our knee at all times so we can push the foot in the floor. If the leg is straight and the knee is locked, we cannot press the floor while lifting the body weight. And that's what we want to do. This is our half moon. We stack the shoulders, we stack the hips. The hip is stacked over the heel, stacked hip, knee, and heel, ankle. Beautiful. We'll step it down. Familiar Warrior 3, so we'll bring it back up. So we will square those hips, Warrior number 3. We're thinking about this standing leg. We got a slight bend so we can push down. We feel the thighs hug the bones. We feel the calf tighten a bit. That's all we're doing here. We're just going to even things out. So we're on either side of the line. Knee over the ankle. Not just this way, but also this way. And if we have tight hips, tight inner thighs, the leg's going to want to pull this way. We move the pelvis to accommodate that movement and get that knee over the ankle. I know in theory they say in Warrior 1 we square the hips with the mat. That's theoretical. Your hips might not be ready yet. We want to take care of those knees. Hip mobility develops in time. We don't want to force a squaring of the hips if it's going to drag the knee inward, because this is going to beat up those ligaments and cause grinding in the knees. Result is bad knee joint damage. Life has enough character building lessons without us having these kind of injuries that are preventable. So just a little quick Warrior 3. We're squaring the hips. We still got a micro bend in the knee. The most important thing is our stance. We're pressing the floor. We press through the heel. You feel it work the hamstrings as you lift the pelvis, pressing the heel on the floor. Never locking the knee. Our trusty yoga block. We come into a quick Iyengar half moon, stacking the hips. I picked most of those poses, like our half moon and our warrior 3, just so we can focus on that standing leg with respect to our knees. Something I mentioned in video 1 was if we're tight inside our legs, it makes standing in something like tree pose more difficult because this tightness tends to pull us in. Tree pose will help us lengthen in there. We want to push down behind the big toe. We're going to feel this leg on the inside engage aggressively when we do that. Push down behind the big toe of your standing foot. You ever get a random pain on the inside of your knee? It just happens sometimes and you don't know what is the cause. You didn't do any heavy running or anything. Why does that happen? Well, these get short and the knee joint collapses in on the inside, putting too much pressure, pinching the nerves, the ligaments, and it's a misery. And in the long term, it can cause damage. So one thing to help with that, another thing to do with our trusty yoga block. We want a good, firm yoga block that's not going to squish. You can use another object, but make sure it's large enough that it can't flip out from under your foot. You want to be careful with that. And if you're not totally confident, do it next to a wall. Fingertips on the wall. We don't want to be leaning on the wall because it makes muscles get lazy. We want those muscles working, lengthening. So I'll bring it back to the mat because it's easier to see. Our simple mountain pose, we just stand with heels under knees, knees under hips. And like this, we'll step on our yoga block. We want to stand as straight as we can, so we're going to pick up the free foot. Not going to step it onto the block, but have it next to the block. And what does that make us do? We pick this up. In order to pick up the pelvis, yes, we can use the glutes and the thighs, but something has to happen here. Is this inside of the leg has to lengthen. And that's what we're seeking. Lifting. Lifting. The Cossacks lifting the middle pelvis. Getting those hips next to each other as if both feet were on flat ground. Practice stepping up and down. We push that foot on the block. Pick up the hip. The abs join in. Pushing down behind that big toe once again. I'm going to do it on the other side. As you step back down, you'll feel it from your inner hip right down to your ankle. Lengthening the inside of your leg. This is going to teach you to get that mind connection to the inside of the leg. And get those muscles in action in every standing pose, in every pose. Preserving their length, that's going to give you more strength, that's going to give you better balance, going to protect those knees. All right. Protect those knees, and they'll keep working. I want to thank you for joining me once again. Namaste.